Hi, guys, and welcome back. This is a super exciting episode. We're finally on episode 8, the beginning. I'm Heather,
I'm Chelsea.
and welcome to I Will Go Down with This Ship. So, usually we would have like just a writer update, but I think that Chelsea and I just kind of want to dive into the good stuff. So, really quick though, Chelsea, how are you just in general?
I'm still recovering from whatever kind of autoimmune flare up it is that I'm dealing with this time. Like I don't know exactly what issues got triggered, but I am on like week 2 of recovering from whatever the hell that flare up was. And when you have the kind of comorbidities that I do, like I have several issues that overlap. So like if one gets set off, sometimes those will set others off. And it's
Yeah.
just like a uphill slog to get back to feeling semi-normal.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that would you say you're feeling a little better?
I'm feeling a lot better than I
Oh,
was
good. Good.
before last. And I'm marginally better than I was last week. I'm not like fully better, but like way better than I was, so I will take it. Absolutely.
100%. Okay. For me, there was like a third teaser trailer for Beetlejuice, which I watched like 15 times. And it's like he's singing this 80s like power ballad to like Lydia. Just is like in love with him so much. He's like pining for her. And then I literally stayed up. Well, no, I set an alarm last night because when we're recording this, it is August 6th, and today is the day they Happy Planner released their collaboration with Beetlejuice. So I got the box. I'm really excited about it. I'm like obsessed with Beetlejuice. I don't think people realize, but I am. And then I ordered like all of the Beetlejuice Funko Pops that are coming out. Anyway, pre-ordered, I guess is technically the right thing, but I'm really excited. I am so excited. So I've been in a pretty good mood. And after watching this again, I'm in even better mood because who doesn't love Fallout? I mean, really.
Like it was such a stellar first season of a show.
I
Like,
know. I feel like our next episode needs to just be like theories. Like not
yeah,
just ship theories, but like, okay, like legit, like if we were the writers, what would we be focusing on and stuff. So I think that that's what we should do. And then we'll do our character breakdown episodes, which I'm really excited to do as well.
me
Um,
too.
but anyway, okay, Chelsea, why don't you start us off? We are doing episode 8, the beginning, which is such a perfect title. I love it so much.
Right? Like the episode titles are all so good. Like
Yeah.
I just like this is peak goodness. And
Can
I'm
we do a shout out really quick? Because with Goggins being nominated for an Emmy, do you happen to know what episode he submitted to get that nomination for, Chelsea? Tell me, tell everyone.
the ghouls,
The
like the
Ghouls,
quintessential ghoulsy episode. Good rehearsals, like
the one without Max. No offense to Max. I'm just saying, like, it was all about the Lucy and the Ghoul and some Norman Shet stuff, but Lucy and the Ghoul. So exciting. And what a great episode.
it was
Yeah.
a fabulous episode. And like I'm so thrilled for him that he got nominated. Like I might riot if he doesn't win an Emmy because gosh, he's worked so hard and he deserves it.
I think the fandom would riot, to be completely honest. Like, um, but yeah, so great episode. So excited, and we'll definitely be doing an episode touching on the Emmys. Okay, so we opened the episode with Max, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm like I'm just so like excited to get into this. Like I love how he's kind of basically having to stand there and wait for the Brotherhood to come in and he knows. I feel like he knows that shit is about to go sideways for him in a monumental way.
Hmm.
But I do love what he's doing here. He's doing a heroic thing not just trying to protect Lucy for a minute, but also to protect Thaddeus and give Thaddeus time to get away.
I totally forgot about Thaddeus. I did not even think about him, which shame on me because that's our bae. But yeah, no, that's such a good point. Um eh,
I kind of love how quickly he caves and
oh my gosh,
crumbles.
I literally have notes on that too. Like, okay, so he's in the helicopter, he's reflecting on Lucy. We see a little flashback, and she's like, "Come find me." And I'm like, "Stop it, Lucy. We know that's not gonna happen." Um, but then like, did you catch the look on his face while he's having that flashback? Do you think deep down he knows he's not gonna be able to find her, or that it's kind of like this pipe dream? Because when he and Dane kind of talk, he's like, "Oh, I met someone and I'm gonna go with her and blah blah blah." But I just felt like during that flashback, he had this look on his face like, "Oh, this is like that was a nice dream, but now it's back to reality almost." Like, I don't know. Did you catch
I
that, or am I
I get
overthinking
it,
it?
and you're not overthinking it. I don't think that expression is that's exactly what that facial expression was to me, at least. Or at least he is torn because yes, he wants what Lucy offered him,
Hmm.
but I think he's, being back around the Brotherhood and seeing the opportunities that are opening up for him there. I think he is very much torn now on what do I actually want.
That's a really good point. And I think that you're absolutely one, because when I was watching this, I was watching it with that, okay, Max is going to be a villain theory that we've been touching on every episode. And it felt like he was putting a little bit more thought into the decisions he was making using that question, like, what do I actually want? Because I thought I wanted this, but now I don't know. And I almost want to scream at him and be like, too little, too late. But at the same time, it's like, I kind of like that he is now having this internal conflict right when, like you said, shit's about to hit the fan.
Right, exactly. And I love how they're all converging on the NCR headquarters at the Griffith Observatory.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Um,
I just
so,
thought it was so funny how quickly he crumbled and he's like, I can get you the head.
oh yeah, no, and it's funny
Get you
because,
the head.
yeah, yeah, and it's like, because we have, um, so like, I had a note on that specifically because it was like, the leaders, making this very, um almost very arrogant kind of speech, like very haughty, snobby kind of speech. And the second that they kind of like take the head from him, and the T-60s kind of push him down or something, like they're ready to attack. He's like, "Wait, wait, wait, just kidding. I can find the head. I know where it is. I can track it." And I was like, okay, do you have some kind of plot where it's like you're trying to get to Lucy so you guys can run off, but like you're not that stupid, right? Because they're gonna send a whole army. Do you think you can just get away? Like I didn't get that, and maybe I'm forgetting things, even though I watched episode 7 last week. How does he track the head? Like, did he already know where they were
I think
going?
he already knew where they were going. I think that Lucy had shared the coordinates with him at some point.
Oh,
They were
okay.
to
Okay.
using like her Pip Boy, and I feel like that's how he knew where they were headed.
Yeah. And it was interesting because watching the whole scene with Max and the leader, because the leader makes this like kind of smart ass comment about like, oh, don't Brotherhood, people around you always find misfortune or something. And obviously he's, like he's insinuating the stuff that happened with Dane. And Dane is right there, and they don't say anything in response to that. And so it made me realize, like, to Max's defense, he's grown up in this brotherhood that it almost feels like everyone is pitted against each other. And so you have to be selfish and make these selfish decisions in order to survive. But then when Max caves, like you said, it's almost like I don't know if it's Dane that sways the leader or if it's both of them or what, but like that's when Dane admits like, "Oh no, it was my fault. I
I
did
do.
this to myself."
Yeah.
And I feel like um I don't know, I thought that that was a really interesting sort of thing. So yeah, I feel like having noticed that and then looking back at the series as a whole, he's been programmed to make these decisions, to go for the glory. Like that is what is ingrained in him. And
Right.
so it's interesting to watch him almost fight against that, but still almost fail at making the quote unquote the right choices. Um, and so and so then when the leader and Max are sort of like meeting one on one, you know, the leader is basically telling him how he wants to remake the wasteland and how he wants to rule with like Max and others like Max as his sword. And I feel like this is what, like you mentioned, like this is what Max has always wanted. Like he wants to be that knight in shining armor. He wants that glory of like fighting and doing something. But the look on his face, it's like you said, it's like, I don't think he, I'm not saying he doesn't want that anymore, but it's almost like he's not excited about it or he's not he's thinking about it now, you know, after everything. So, um, but yeah, so then yeah, like you said, Lucy gets to Moldaver's compound, and it's at the conservatory, and I love but like you see not only like humans and kids, but like other ghouls, and you have that one ghoul that stops and stares at Lucy, and I'm like, oh, did she save you? Like, were you one of the ghouls in that thing?
I have a theory because he's actually serving soup, right? And he says,
Yeah,
"There she is."
yeah.
And I'm wondering if he remembers her from back when Rose brought her there as a child,
Oh, that would
and
be
is
really
recognizing her
interesting.
like she's back.
That's really interesting. Yeah, because the ghouls have been around for a long time. So yeah, I love that theory too. Um, and so then obviously we have a very interesting Cooper Howard flashback. Question, do you think Cooper messes with the oil change on purpose?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so tell me what why you think he would do that.
I think he is just like he's dying to know, like he really wants to confirm that Moldaver is wrong about Barb.
Yes. He's
And
not spying because he mistrusts Barb. It's to prove what his heart is telling him, basically. Like, yeah.
exactly, like he is trying to have faith in his wife. He's trying to prove Moldaver wrong. And I don't think that was her name back then. I don't remember what her name was back at that point, but we know who she is.
Yeah.
And so I think he bungles the oil change on purpose. Like we all know that man can change the oil in a car. Like it.
Seriously. Barb's all like other men wouldn't get their hands dirty. I was like, "Oh, honey. You would be surprised what he would be." Anyway, I'm gonna stop there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like I feel like he bungles that on purpose because he knows that the range on that listening device only goes so far.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was hoping he'd be able to sit in the car outside and be able
Yes.
to listen. But he realized, like, once there was the interference, once she went inside the building, you can like see the realization on his face. Shit, I'm gonna have to go inside for
But
this.
do you think that she not okay, here's the thing about Barb. I don't think she suspects Cooper because no disrespect to Barb, I don't think she thinks he's smart enough to pick up on what she's doing. Like, I think that she's arrogant and she thinks that she's being super clever and that he just is going to completely blindly trust her. And so I think that with the whole Pip-Boy malfunction stuff, I don't think that she um
I don't think she suspects Cooper at all.
at all, but not because she loves him and thinks he's a good man. I think it's more of that she thinks
I
that
think
she
she's so much smarter than him.
exactly, exactly. Um, and so I love that like Bud Askins comes in this like super tiny, like but highly technologically advanced car, and I'm like, oh, that's foreshadowing what he turned into.
I love it. I love it
Oh
so
my
much.
gosh. But yeah, I feel like there's so much going on, even in this little like flashback. Like I like that Barb wants to fix her own Pip-Boy. Like she's not willing to let anyone touch it. And so I'm like, is it because you don't trust anyone? Is it because you're hiding shit? Like, why won't you even take it to get fixed by someone else if you're so high above all of that stuff? Um, and then okay, I love the little conversation that Bud has with Cooper about like, oh, it's my little like super manager program. It's Buds. It's like having kids. And I'm like, oh, honey. I love when people compare like having kids to like anything. I felt like the look on Cooper's face is like, really? Like, come on
Right,
now.
right, because it's a whole different situation. Like I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. But then what was really, really interesting, is that Bud specifically tells Cooper, like, oh, I'm sure Barb told you all about it. And like on first watch, I like completely glossed over it because it's funny because again, it's like Bud Askins wants Cooper Howard's approval. And like even when, Cooper's listening in on their conversations, like, oh, do you think that we can do this with Cooper or whatever? But it's
Mhm.
like actually Bud is thinking that a wife is going to tell her husband all of the stuff. And Barb is telling Cooper nothing. So I was just like, hmm.
Right,
If I'm Cooper Howard, I'm just like almost a little embarrassed because this isn't the first time, like, I feel like either Bud or like even Hank, when Hank calls, like, oh, didn't your wife say this? Or did Barb tell you this?
right.
And so it's like he feels like an idiot almost because like no one is telling him anything. And so, and the fact that Bud would even imply it seems to feel like okay, there are certain things that Barb could talk to Cooper about that wouldn't violate any kind of confidentiality, and she's
Right.
choosing not to tell him. Like that's what I picked up on it.
Exactly.
And so yeah, I don't, yeah, Barb anyway. Okay, so then we're back to Lucy and Moldaver. We see Hank in a cage, and then we see a ghoul. And okay, side question. Do we think that Cooper just like as a ghoul like shaved his head? Because Lucy's mom has like a pretty decent amount of hair. Like, or do you think it's just like radiation exposure versus like I'm just like, how come some
I
ghouls have hair
know.
and some ghouls don't?
It almost looks like burn scars on his head
Mm,
a little bit,
hmm.
and with burn scars, hair doesn't grow back.
That's
So
true. That's a good point. Yeah. Um, And then I loved how Lucy takes a shot at her dad when she's like, oh, she has the head and she's like, I considered sticking a grenade in this and just blowing everybody up, but that's not how I was raised. And then it flashes to Hank because of the whole shady fans shit. And I was like,
and like she doesn't, but I love that she doesn't even realize that that's a dig yet.
yeah,
Hasn't put two and two together.
right,
And it's
exactly.
so ironic and beautiful and well written and just like kudos to the
Again,
writer.
it's that payoff, like the payoff stuff of like foreshadowing. And I like, if we could interview the writers, I would love to know how much in advance has been plotted, like, and then like what changes like as they're working
As they're
together.
working, filming,
Yes,
all this
because
kind of stuff. Yeah.
everything is so flawed, like seamless, that I'm just like, it doesn't look like anything changed. And then after that, Moldaver is willing to give Hank back, but first she wants to talk to Lucy about who Hank really is, which I thought was interesting. But part of me is like, I don't think Moldaver lets Hank out of there. Like, I think she lies.
I think she
So,
was counting on Lucy's righteous anger when she found out what Hank did to her mother. I
mm,
think she was betting that Lucy was going to kill Hank for it. I think that's where Moldaver was sticking her bets.
that's an interesting theory because it shows that she doesn't know about who the people are in the vault and how nonviolent they are. Um, but yeah, I do see, and I think because and I'm getting a little ahead, but when she talks about her mom again, and Lucy's like, "What do you know about my mom?" She makes the comparison of Lucy being like her mom, but Moldaver was the same person who was willing to kill Lucy. And like in the vault, like she wasn't expecting Lucy to come after her. That wasn't the point. The point was to kill everyone in the vault, including Hank, sort of as retribution, I would imagine. But I'm just like, I don't understand why Moldaver like would want to kill Lucy. I mean, I'm sure that now that Lucy's a tool that she could use, but just like this was the same woman in episode 1 who's like ready to kill her, you know, and make that comment, "Oh, you look just like your mom," and then take off while the Raiders are just doing whatever, you know?
I think it all comes down to she's assuming that Lucy is so heavily indoctrinated by Hank and has her mind so heavily poisoned by Hank
Mm,
that she's more Hank than Rose.
that's an interesting, yeah, I like that. I think and maybe she like drops that little breadcrumb about her mom in hopes that if Lucy isn't, or if Lucy has questions, then she'll do something about it.
Right.
Yeah, that's good. Um, so then we go back to Norm, who's currently, you know, in Vault 31.
I love
I love Norm. And then we see Askins in his new form, the robot. And I love again, it's that like
Honorable. I love it.
you go ahead, tell him, Chelsea.
Oh my god, like I love how it's like stuck by a mop handle that has fallen over and like bless Norm. Norm
I
help
know.
out of the tight spot.
Like it's because he can't sometimes it's just like it's that habit you can't fight being polite because you're so heavily raised in it. I love that we get that suspenseful music when he like has the needle ready to stab Norm and all Norm has to do is like step out of the way.
Yeah. Just like easily move out of the way.
Yeah. And he's
Oh,
like he's and then like Norm's like, "Oh, what did he say?" He said something like, "What's down here?" And then Bud is like, "You'll never know." And then he keeps him. He's like, "Oh, he's gonna find out, or he'll never find out."
so funny. Like that was all hilarious and like really very humorously delivered also.
Yes.
But like
Um,
I don't care what's in that needle. If you get the right angle on that brain on a Roomba, I feel like if you stomp on that glass dome where the brain is and squish the brain, it's not going to be able to lock you in. I'm just saying.
no. No, exactly. Um,
But I think
anyway.
Mark was so stunned
Oh
and thrown
yeah.
because like I think he suspected that everything was a lie, but I don't think he suspected that it was as much of a lie as it has been.
Well, because he finds out there's civilization living right now, right? Like that he finds that out. In Vault 31 and Bud is like, "Oh, you can't know that. No, it's not true or something."
Right?
But it's interesting because every single character, so you have Cooper, you have Lucy, you have Max, and to a degree you have Norm, and it's like they all realize this truth of not maybe Cooper as the ghoul, but Cooper Howard as, the husband and the actor. It's like they all realize that they've been lied to by someone um that they care about or that they trusted completely. Like even Max to a degree, like the leader is looking at Max and it's like you've always looked for a home, help me build one. And after being around Lucy and realizing, the Brotherhood is kind of sketchy, like Thaddeus has to run away because they would kill the ghoul without question. And it's just it was very nicely done how like all of these revelations are happening, at the same time.
Yes.
Um, so then we jump back to a flashback and we see Cooper spying on Barb's meeting and he's like sitting there and we see a little like, oh, there's Betty right there.
Right.
Yeah. And she's so nice. Like you wouldn't think like she's this terrible person and she like goes to get Hank. Oh, can I get a dog? Can he like come say hi to you or whatever? And Cooper being the gentleman is like, yeah, I guess. And he's like so
Right.
exasperated.
So I actually paused the TV and was looking at some of the names on the screen going back to
Mm.
normal.
Oh
in Vault
yeah.
41 of like the people who have already been activated and like brought out of cryo sleep. And I didn't see Barb's name anywhere on that list
Yep, I did
in
that
that
too.
vault. Like I
And
was looking with a fine tooth comb.
well, I think okay, because when we go into the meeting that Barb has, she specifically says Bud is planning those three interconnected vaults for his buds. But I think that that's Bud Askins' super managerial, whatever you say, like program. I think that Barb is
Has
somewhere
a
else.
somewhere else.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that she's above the manager thing. I don't know if she and Bud are necessarily same level, but I think that Bud obviously wanted to be overseer of, I guess, technically all three vaults, just to because this is his experiment. But I think Barb is somewhere else, like in a
Yeah.
fancier one or whatever. Um, but
Yeah. I
I
was
think,
checking with a fine tooth comb just in case.
oh no, that's so smart. That's what I did too. And I looked for Steph too, and I couldn't find her
She was
name.
on the left, Stephanie Harper.
Okay.
On
Okay.
that have already been activated. She was, I think, the most recent name on the list.
Okay.
The ones
That
that
makes
have
sense.
been activated.
Did you look for anyone else that when you were looking at the names, did any jump out like Reg or I think Chris or Davy or whatever, like the kind of like the side character Maltese, like Shet or anyone like that? I
No,
don't think so, right?
I know on the left hand side we had Betty, Hank, and Steph.
Yeah. Okay.
All left hand list of people that have already been activated.
Okay.
And then everybody on the right are the ones that have not been let out of cryo sleep yet.
Right. And we don't know as of right now any of those names,
Mm-mm.
or
They're
like we're not familiar with their character.
yeah.
Okay. Um, so we're in the meeting with Barb, and she, I feel like, you have that circle of men and women, and one is, I feel like there was kind of a hint about New Vegas because one of the guys says something like, you could lose money running a casino, kind of like insulting the guy. And I was like, oh, I didn't pick that up until that rewatch. So yeah, anyway. But then all of a sudden they're starting to argue about, okay, why are we here? We're all kind of competitors, and Vault Tech is losing money because no one is buying your vaults. And
Because of the talk
um,
peace treaties.
exactly. And then you see Barb say, "Can we redirect?" And then
Yeah, because of the message she got on her Pip Boy that
oh, I
none
didn't
of
even
us.
think of that. Yeah,
But you hear the beep of the message coming in on the Pip Boy, and then she looks up at that person who is like her
that we don't.
higher up.
Mm-hmm.
That's in the shadows, like all you can see is a silhouette, like that's all you can tell about them. And then she gets everyone's attention, is like, can we redirect this redirect this conversation? She lays everything out for everybody, and I love how frowny Bud is getting over there because he doesn't like the idea of the other experiments as compared to his experiment.
Oh yeah, 100%. And just like the blind faith on Cooper's face, like as he's listening to Barb talk and how she's like,
He's
when
like,
I,
he has love that he says, "That's right, Barb, set him straight," and then
yeah,
she takes that hard left hand turn, and he is just so shell shocked
his
at
heart
how
broken. Yeah.
it
And
did.
quintessential Goggins. Oh my gosh. Break my heart again, sir. Like, I don't know what you're doing to me. But it was so interesting because I was like really trying to pay attention to what she was saying. And it's like, but once you set everything up so beautifully, Chelsea, like the Pip Boy, her looking up, and then her little speech about when I think about the future, I think about my daughter. I was
Right.
like, now you're using your daughter as sort of like this way to get everyone to invest in your company. Like now she is a tool. Like she's tainted.
As a selling point for dropping the nukes on everyone.
Yeah. And the fact that she said daughter and not family, the way that Cooper's like, where is my fucking family? Like, and I know
Right.
I think that he lumps Barb in more out of curiosity, like, okay, what the hell did happen to her? Do I have to worry about her kind of thing versus I care about it or I care about her. But like, I felt like that was such a poignant thing because, I mean, yeah, when we think about the future, we think about our kids, but we also think about the person that we're married to. I mean, I would hope, like, I think about the future with my husband and like, I can't wait to go travel where it's just the two of us. And like I don't think about just my kids. I think about as a
Right.
wife and you get what I'm saying. Like it's not just being a mom. And
Yeah.
so I felt like you said like Janie suddenly turned into a selling point. And I mean, it's like you said, like shell shocked is like the perfect word to use for him because it's like he's hurt, he's betrayed, but I think there's anger there too and anger at her, but also at himself because he was 100% in her, like in terms of just, I believe in you. You always do the right thing. That's what I love about you. And his entire world just shifted on its axis.
His
Axis.
entire world just imploded.
Yeah, exactly.
In one moment of listening to his wife sell the end of the world to these other companies as a way to save Vault-Tec from losing money.
Right. And it's just it's crazy because it's like um it's just she basically says, "Well, we dropped the bomb ourselves because this way." And I love it because she says war never changes, and we'll see Cooper repeat that later on in the episode. And
Yep.
again, like some of the stuff that she is saying, I think, and I think this is what frustrates
That's
Cooper
a
is
nod
she's
to the opening sequence of Fallout 4. Like
yeah.
there's a whole little speech with that in the beginning of the game with the war never changes
Oh,
thing.
I didn't even know that. So that's good. Shout out to Fallout 4 then. But I just think that some of what Barb is saying is true. And I think that that's what makes it frustrating. And it's not necessarily true in this, like, oh, I agree with it. It's just what she's saying makes sense. And that's the hard part of it all, you know? Um, and so like when she starts talking about running these experiments and like I just like without emotion, like, you have one person say, "Oh, let's take the kids away from the
Their
parents."
parents, then only
And
the smartest children will survive. Like,
yeah,
oh, the mother in me got very upset.
yeah, and I could not imagine just like doing these kind of, experiments and stuff like that. And I can only imagine like,
And the one that said like will uh either like starve them or something about like limiting the resources so people
yeah,
have to fight over the resources was one of the suggestions. And
right.
like, and you can just see Bud getting like more and more and more upset. And like Bud Askins is the definition of like the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, I feel like Bud would be a great person at almost any other company. It's just because of Voltec's goals, he's
Yep.
not a great person. But again, he's not wrong in that, in his logic of like, okay, let's outlast everybody, let's outlast the competition because, and then, oh, when Barb was like a true monopoly, I got like shivers. I was like,
Chill.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, like it's so cold. They're so cold in what they're doing. And, I just, yeah, it was,
And
it
I
was a
love
great
that
scene.
later in the episode that Hank harks back to that and like talking about wipe everybody else off the map and make them us.
Yeah. Exactly. And and it's so fascinating because he's like, there would be no conflict. Like if everybody were like Vault 32 and 33, we would be utilizing these conflict resolutions. We wouldn't be getting into wars. We wouldn't be fighting. And it's just it's I part of me is like, okay, that's very interesting, but part of me is like, you're so naive because being in a vault and very limited resources is very different than being on the surface where there's tons of
Mhm.
resources. And I'm just like, I don't know. I think that it's such an it's such an interesting concept, and I loved how they executed it and just like all of the moral philosophies and stuff.
Well, I love how he is basically like rationalizing genocide as a
Yeah.
good thing because we wipe everybody else off the map and make them us, and then there won't be any problems. And like, sir, that is problematic in and of itself.
Right. And it's just crazy too, because it's like when we, again, a little bit ahead of ourselves, but like when Norm finds out that 32 and 33 are breeding stock, I was like, first of all, that's the nerdiest thing I've ever heard. You're breeding super managers, like
Right.
genetically chosen to be the best managers. I've heard of a lot of breeding stock stories, but never for managerial purposes. Like, I'm just like, okay, bud, like weirdo. But but yeah, I mean, and it's just crazy because it's like they want that type of person
I
to.
love, though, I love how Norm says we just exist for you to control.
Mhm.
And I love how Bud is like so offended by that insinuation, but it's true.
Yeah,
And like Bud tries to spin the breeding stock thing as a good thing, like we
right.
want positive people, people who make lemonade, like blah 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 blah. Like you're still controlling them.
Yeah,
You you can make excuses all you want, Bud, and you can have the best intentions in the world. That doesn't make what you're doing right.
exactly. Exactly. And I just but the thing is, it's like because of how good the world building is and because of all of these setups, like this isn't like me um being like there was this one meme that I saw for Game of Thrones and how like the guy who plays Sam, who's like a hefty guy, and somebody actually went up to him and was like, I don't believe you. You don't like you're traveling all this, all over these places and you haven't lost any weight. And the guy looks at him and is just like, okay, we have flying dragons and we have a lady who gave birth to a cloud, and you can't believe that. And like to a degree, like, yeah, that makes sense. But then you also have that world building aspect of like, okay, would people really try to sell people on the end of the world? And I think that Fallout does such a good job of like, even if it sounds crazy to us, the way that it's set up in the show, I I don't I believe their logic. Like I believe that they believe it, even if I don't agree with it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so,
Yes.
like, to us, Bud Askin seems like this overzealous, like, super, like, this guy who's like super into like things, but it's like, no, but it makes sense within the context of the story.
It absolutely does. And like, bless his heart. That's all I can
Yeah.
say. Like, bless his heart. Like, he really was so well intentioned, but he got fast and loose with his moral compass and made a lot of excuses for a lot of things that were not
Hmm.
necessarily right in trying to achieve his idea of what was right, that it kind of taints the whole issue.
No, I 100%. And I think exactly what you're saying of like, I think that Barb 100% believes in the company as a whole. I think that Bud is there because he wants his manager, his like little program to sort of take off. And he's willing to stick his head in the sand in order to get what he wants because in his head, he thinks he's doing the right thing. And I think that this is where that really good writing, every single person thinks that they are doing the right thing.
Exactly. And well, like that's why Bud left West Tech and like ignored the issues with the T armor suit
Hmm.
and was, like it's well, his ostrich nature is well established because he's like, oh, I don't want to think about the problem. I don't want to focus on that. I have this new idea. I'm going to take that and like run with it. And we're just going to ignore the flaws in this armor.
Yeah.
And I loved that Cooper called him out and was like, "Hey, I fought with guys that died because of that flaw."
And it's such a perfect setup which we're going to see later on in this episode that Cooper completely takes full advantage of, because guess what? They didn't fix the flaw.
Exactly.
But I love how, like, during this whole like huge life-shattering moment for Cooper, like Hank appears and he's like, "Ah, I hate to be that guy, but can I get an autograph?"
Right.
It's like literally shattered. And it's like Hank is not reading the room very well. Like,
No, Hank is not picking up on like any kind of facial expressions or social cues or like anything. And he's just like so excited, like, oh my God, this actor I idolize is here. I'm just coming out of my skin. Like, oh, can I get an autograph?
and I think based on Hank, that movie where like he kills, I think it's Joe or something like that, and he recites that.
Joey something, the Feo Forte y
Yeah,
Formal.
I think that that's his favorite movie, and I think that Cooper hates that
Hate that
movie.
one.
He
Yeah.
hates that
That's his
one.
least favorite.
And I think that for Cooper, that was the beginning of the end. Like, he looks back on that, and instead of just like fighting back the way his gut was telling him to, he kind of went with it because he's trusting the director, he's trusting his wife, he's trusting all of these people. And so yeah, so
That
I
really so beautifully with the title of this episode too. The
yeah,
beginning,
exactly. It ties
like
back to that
another
beginning.
nod. It's another setup and payoff. Like it's this show is so well constructed.
Yeah.
It just makes me incredibly happy, like with how well they've done with the writing.
Yeah. And it like, for me, it gives me hope that like, okay, there are legit good writers out in Hollywood, but then it pisses me off because there are so many bad ones. And I'm just like, just watch Fallout and learn from Fallout. Like, that is all you need to do if you want to do a good job. Um so anyway, so then we go back to Lucy and Moldaver, and this is where that conversation about Lucy's mom comes up. And we can tell that Moldaver is talking about Rose with affection. And
Yes,
um, I think it's unspoken, but the implication is very much. Now, I don't know if Rose felt the same way, but Moldaver definitely had, I think, feelings for Rose.
absolutely.
Um, and I
Why
think
else
that
would you have kept her around in that deep of a ghoul state?
exactly.
He wasn't head over heels in love with her.
Um, and so yeah, so I just think that and not only that, but to hold on to that anger of um so when do we remember when the bombs dropped on Shady Sands? Like, how
I
long
think
ago?
2077. I'm not sure.
Okay. Because
Like, I'm
what
not 100% on that, but I think that's what pops to mind immediately
because
for
I'm
me.
just like, how the hell is Moldaver not aging?
Right. But the Shady Sands thing happened after Lucy and Norm were born and
Right.
children.
Yeah.
And
So it
Hank
has to
came to
be
take
20
them back and
years.
then bombed Shady Sands.
Yeah, so I'm thinking it has to be 20 years. I'm also wondering how the hell Hank got that resource. Like, do they have it in the vaults? Like, how does he have that? Um,
I think it comes from being a part of that like Buds little class there that he knew where he could go to get access to nukes to
oh,
bomb.
that's true. Yeah. Um,
And, he knows the way to New Vegas to like,
that's
meet
true.
your big and talk to the higher ups and all this kind of stuff. Like because he is from before,
Yeah.
I feel like he knows a lot of these things because he was a part of Vault Tech before the bombs were even dropped and before the vaults were a thing. Like, well,
Nope,
not
that
before,
makes sense.
but before people went into the vaults and lived in them for 200 some odd years.
Yeah. Um, yeah, no, for sure. And so at this point, let's see. Okay, so then we have Max and Dane having a conversation, and this is where Max tells Dane about Lucy. And I love Dane in this moment because they are very honest but also compassionate. And so it's like Max is saying, oh, I met someone, I'm gonna go to a vault, we're gonna be safe, we're gonna be together. And it's like they're happy that Max met someone, but then they're like, no one is safe. Like no, like nowhere is safe.
Nowhere is safe and there is no going back.
Yeah. And I think Lucy, as she's digesting this information deep down, whether she wants to kind of admit it or not, she knows that. And I think that Max has to be confronted with that too, like, and it has to come from someone like Dane because I don't think he would trust anyone else.
Right? He wouldn't accept it from anyone else.
Exactly. Um, and so I really liked that exchange between the two of them. Um, and that like the Brotherhood is willing to sacrifice these guys like without armor just to go to war, with Moldaver in order to get that the cold fusion.
Right.
Um, and
And it is
so
terrifying that they do end up with that technology.
yeah, it is terrifying. And then yeah, so everyone is like basically learning a lesson. Then we find out again, Lucy finds out about Shady Sands. And again, like Hank's one redeeming quality is that he loves, I mean, at this point, he loves his daughter. And to the point where he gives Moldaver the access code. And I feel like this humanizes him a little bit. But
Yeah.
Kyle MacLachlan is so good because when he gets out and he's like, okay, you're coming with me. And like sneakily putting on the armor while Max and Lucy kind of
Just
reunite. He just bitch slaps Max across and knocks Max. Poor Max. He gets like
Max.
everyone.
He gets like that child gets the school of hard knocks more than anybody else. And I'm just like, sweetheart, I'm so sorry.
um, but yeah, I mean, and I think that Lucy picking up the gun and pointing it at her dad and just the cold but like arrogant way he's like, I'm your father, you're not gonna hurt me.
Right.
And
Ooh.
it's, oh, I know. And I'm like, I don't think she
The
would have, to be
delivery
honest.
was so good. Like,
When I heard that whistle, oh no, this is like the whistle, like I think we forgot the part where, oh my gosh, Cooper. When we get the whistle from Cooper and it's
right.
like all of these tea people, I was like, I got, I got really excited. I was like, I know exactly who that is.
Yes. Like,
He's such a badass. Oh my gosh,
he
I love
is.
him.
It's so excellent. I just love it. I love that he whistles and he's just like leaned up against the stairs, absolutely chill. Like, he ain't worried about any of
What does he say? He says something like, "You think that wearing that outfit makes you a bigger man," or something like that. But the
it.
smart ass comment, I was like, "Oh my
And
gosh."
he's like literally dragging them right before he's about to take them all out.
I love that he knows more about the armor than they do. And I'm just like,
Right?
did anyone read a manual here? Like Lucy did. I know she did, but did anybody else? Like, how hard is it to read these manuals? But yeah, oh my gosh, I loved that part. Just we see him being a badass, and it was really, really cool. Like again, and we believe it because we've already have the setup of Cooper just being an amazing shot. And yeah, and he knows the armor, so he knows how to take him out.
Love that he's using the exploding rounds that are
Yeah.
gonna pierce the armor and then explode after they're inside the armor. Like, that's a
Oh,
nice touch.
that was a nice touch. He can tell he's a little bit angry. Um, but then so Lucy and Hank are having that moment, and then let me ask, do you think that she would have shot Hank?
I don't think she would have. I
I don't
don't
think she would have either.
I'm
Yeah.
like like you said, it's not the way she was raised. That indoctrination is still there.
Yeah.
But I think that she's maybe gonna outgrow some of that in
Yeah.
season.
Um, let me ask you a question. Okay, so Lucy is basically holding her father at gunpoint. Hank does not believe she's going to hurt him. And then Cooper again, another great little entrance, fires, and he hits Hank. And so
Yep. I love that it grazes Hank's cheek. And you know he did that on
on
purpose to get
purpose.
Hank's attention so he can ask his questions before he kills Hank.
Yeah.
But I don't think he had any intention of actually killing Hank here because he wants Hank to lead him to
Yeah.
Barb and
Well,
the other.
that's why he says I'd rather follow a stuck
It's easy
pig.
to follow a
Yeah,
stuck pig than ask it where it's off to.
exactly. Um, but I think yes, Cooper's just so strategic. But okay, so having said that and seeing the buildup, let's say we're at whatever part of whatever season where either Hank or Cooper are going to kill, or not Hank, Lucy or Cooper are gonna, they're confronting Hank. Who do you think should be the one based on story that should be putting Hank down? Do you think it's Cooper? Or do you think it's Lucy?
For me, it's Lucy.
I agree.
She's got to kill that part of her past, that part of her indoctrination. I think she's got to pay him back for what he did to her mother and
Hmm.
everyone in Shady Sands and to Moldaver even to a degree because
Yeah,
you know Moldaver loved Rose.
yeah. Um, and I do think it's almost again that setup of Hank kills Raj and then as a mercy, and then we see Lucy do the same to her mother. So she learned that lesson. And so for Cooper to shoot Hank, raise him, I think that unless Hank is going to kill Lucy, the only
Right.
person I feel who's allowed to kill him is Lucy. Same thing with Barb, if it ever comes down to it, where but like Cooper is the only person I think who should be allowed to kill her,
Yeah.
unless again Lucy
Unless
is forced to, like if Cooper's
unless
incapacitated
they,
and so
yeah,
yeah,
forced to save Cooper.
exactly. So that I think in terms of like you mentioned, the putting down the past, the accepting the present, like it can only be them. Like it can't just be Arya Stark killing, the Night King in Game of Thrones after the entire show set up that it was going to be Jon Snow.
Right.
And like you, if some rando, if like Thaddeus comes over here and kills Hank, like it would just be like, okay, yeah, it'd be a shock, but it wouldn't serve the story. And so even
Right.
if it is quote unquote predictable, it's like they have earned that kill. You know what I mean? Um,
Absolutely.
and so let's just take a moment here to like talk about the back and forth between Lucy and Cooper because I think it is completely different than we've seen them before. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts?
I like I love how gentle he's being with her in this scene, even though it might not necessarily look that way at first blush. Like he's trusting her with a lot. He's turning his back to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ugh. He's trusting her. He's facing, like his back to her. Like he's answering her questions.
Hmm.
Like, when she asks him, you let him get away. Like, and she's kind of upset about it. And he explains to her, this is why we're doing this. Like,
He doesn't give her shit for not shooting her father.
right? He doesn't like drag her for that. And I thought that was very like kind of him, honestly.
I
Like
think he
kind and gentle.
knows.
I think he sees like
Hmm.
everything that she's waking up to. And I think he sees that she's having so many realizations here and so much stuff is hitting her. And I love that he gave her the opportunity to kill him.
I mean it wouldn't have killed him, but I do like that too. Um
Well, I
that
mean, if
was
he had been a headshot, it may have.
That's true. Like he did turn his back. So if she chose to, and she saw him kill Raj. So she if she had, and Lucy's smart. So if she kind of like saved that information, she could be like, this is how you kill a ghoul. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um,
But she applied that information to her mother in a mercy killing,
yeah.
which was a really beautiful kind of full circle moment because I loved how, like, judgmental and very on her high horse she was about him killing Raj. And
Hmm.
then he, like she comes back to this moment and she sees her mother like this. Her mother's too far gone. Her mother's never coming back from this point. And she knows now that it's a mercy. And I think she realizes that what Cooper did for Raj was a mercy killing also. And that was just a really beautiful moment to me.
I
Even though it
agree.
was a hard moment.
And I love that Cooper was there to witness it. The
Yeah.
same way that Lucy was there to witness his mercy killing. It was like she got to witness a little bit of his humanity and he got to witness a little bit of her growing an edge or whatever.
Yes.
And like you said, I loved that he had his back to her and she picks up the gun and she cocks it and you
All he does
see
is like you see him look back, but he doesn't move and he doesn't do
no,
anything to defend himself
no.
at all.
And he and this is Cooper, or I should say this is like the ghoul, like he's gonna kill anyone who tries to kill him because, and this is crazy because he's like he said to Hank, I've been waiting 200 years to finally ask one of you guys, where is my fucking family? The fact that he is willing to take a chance on Lucy, to trust her enough to potentially kill him even though he hasn't gotten any answers that he's been looking for the last 200 years. And I think that that says so much about his character and the fact that he wants to trust her, he trusts her, and I think that everything shifted for him after she drops the vials in his hand because he knows she could have killed him at that point and he would have deserved it, but she didn't. And so he's taking that chance and being like, okay, she wants answers the same way I do. Like, to be honest, like, why? Okay, Chelsea, tell me, why do you think Cooper would even offer to take her with him? Because technically speaking, she's just going to slow him down. I mean, there is that degree of, oh, I have your daughter, but Hank ditched his daughter. So, like, why does Cooper take Lucy with him?
I think he feels like she deserves the answers as much as he does
So it's
after
like a
every.
kindness.
It's a
Yeah.
kindness. It is absolutely a kindness. And I know nothing about him looks kind on the surface, but that's the whole entire point of this series so far has been like nothing is what it seems. Don't judge a book by its cover.
Yep.
Like you have to look deeper than the surface. And I think it is a kindness and I think he feels that she deserves the same kind of justice and answers that he deserves.
And I think that to a degree, he he didn't have anyone in those 200 years to really process things with. And it's almost like, and I'm not saying that the ghoul is this compassionate person who wants to help her, but I think that he wants to kind of guide her the way that he wished somebody maybe would have guided him. And so like she's not completely alone
Yes.
doing this.
Not floundering around
Right.
and probably going to get herself killed. Like, not saying that Lucy's not capable, but like the wasteland is a harsh, harsh reality.
Yeah.
And I think he wants to help her navigate that in better, smarter ways. And like kind of, he had to go through the school of hard knocks over the past 200 years. And I think he kind of wants to impart some of this knowledge to her of like, look, I learned this shit the hard way. Work smarter, not harder, kid. Come on.
Yeah. I would love it if he started calling her kid. Anyway, that's
Right.
just me. Um, but I do agree with that, especially because I think that I feel like he really wants to have this faith in her the way that he used to have faith in Barb, but that fear won't let
Yeah.
him. But I do think that when he saw her like holding that gun to her dad, and he must have known what was going through her head because he probably felt that same way because it's like her mom was right there, her dad is literally right there. Moldaver, the person who basically attacked her vault and upended her world. They're all right there, and she's confronting all of these things at the same time. And I love that Cooper's like, now you can stay with him, but when his tin can army is coming, they're gonna kill you, and you're not gonna get the answers. And so it's like he's giving her this opportunity to be more in control and to ask these questions.
And I love that he offers her the choice and that she does choose to
Yeah,
go. And
I agree.
I love how softly he played the "You Comin'," and that I love that he dropped some of the accent and the
Yeah,
drop with the "You Comin',"
yeah,
because that's, he the ghoul is very much one of his cowboy characters
agreed.
to play in the movies. And I feel like this is the first time he's really letting her see past some of that, because he sees what mirrors they are of each other.
Yeah. And I think that if Lucy never gives him the vials, I don't know if we get the same sort of treatment. I love that Walton has come out and said, no, I purposefully played it this way because Cooper knew exactly what she was going through. And again, it's like kind of what you said about like the back turned, the choice. These are all actions without words that do the show not tell of that trust that he has in her. And so that's why I feel like if, we do get our ship, it's not going to be so much with words on his end, it's going to be more of the action. And that's what I want to see.
Faith on his part.
Yeah.
And like, it's, to me, it harks back to the end of Beauty and the Beast too, where like the beast is like under attack and like kind of accepting all these kind of things, but he, like, the beast knows that like whatever Belle does, like I'm good with what Belle
Yeah.
does. And I like sense a similarity there
I
between
agree.
the ghoul and Lucy at this point.
So would you say if our theory is that this is very Beauty and the Beast coded, what part of Beauty and the Beast are we right now? Like, I feel like it has to be right after the attack. The wolves attack her and she
Yeah,
kind of comes in and saves him. Because it's like that's that moment where they're both like, okay, we can kind of,
there's that shift in the
yeah, yeah. So I
like,
think we
even
need
though
an
they're
edit.
differing, they like take care of each other and like
Exactly.
grow closer together. Yes, we are absolutely at that point where, like, she has tried to run away, she's tried to prove him wrong, she gets attacked by the wolves, and
Yeah.
then like he protects her from the wolves, and then as a thank you, she like takes care of him and helps him heal. And like, yeah, we need an edit.
I need an edit of like the song. Like there's something there we didn't see
Oh
before or
my
whatever.
goodness.
I love that. Um, but yeah, so I think because if we're going with Beauty and the Beast, I would absolutely love it where like Cooper sort of like releases her or lets her go, maybe to get her brother, maybe to go back to the vault to make sure they're okay. And then the like brotherhood comes to attack him or wherever they are, and she like tries to get the Vaulties out and says, no, we gotta go back, I need to protect him. And then she rushes back with something or people or maybe all of the experiments or whatever, and they all just she comes back, and then Cooper realizes that like she came back for him. Oh my gosh, I'm getting excited just like thinking about it. I'm
That would be
sorry.
such a beautiful moment. Like,
It's such a beautiful moment. And it's like, oh my gosh. And then you have Gaston or Max, I should say,
I
and the ghoul going at it. I would love that. Like the dark romance author in me just needs to see Cooper and Max like fighting, and like Gaston being like, or Max being like, she never loved you. Look at you. You're a beast. Blah, 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 blah. And Cooper knowing that it's real. So like he barely fights back. Anyway, I'm getting lost in this. I need this so much because I would
I
love it so much. But just like that moment where Lucy chooses Cooper, because I don't think anyone has chosen Cooper before. Makes me
Yeah,
sad.
except Roosevelt.
Oh yeah, for sure. But like an actual human and like uh anyway, and like what he
It happened.
sacrificed for his family, for Barb, like all of that. And it's like I need Lucy to do that for him. Like with
Yeah.
everything that I have, I need that so much. Um, and I would love like if maybe Lucy put herself in danger to get him information for Janie or something. Like I would love that too.
I would love that so hard. I need them to be a little unit together. I need them to
Found
be
family.
need it to be a thing, like found family.
We already
Mm,
have Roosevelt. Okay. We already have the Roosevelt. We have our Cooper Howard. And now with Lucy, we have something. Oh, oh my gosh, this episode. But it's not over yet. We go back to Max. And it's interesting because kind of everybody kind of kills each other, but like the Brotherhood wins out for obvious reasons. Do you think Moldaver knows this? Do you think she knows that the Brotherhood is going to win, but it doesn't matter because she has the cold fusion?
yeah, I think that she knows that the NCR can't beat the Brotherhood in this situation. They're outmanned, they're outgunned, but she's completed her mission. She got her technology back from Vault-Tec, and she pushes that button and the cold fusion works. It, gives power to the power grid there, and then she sits down and she holds, Rose's dead ghoul body's hand and says, "We did it, Rose." And like I cried
Hmm.
because it's just fucking beautiful, first of all. But I think she knew she was outmanned and outgunned. But like
Hmm.
she's been after getting her technology back for as long as Cooper's been after his family.
Yeah, and that's interesting. Um, do you think that, okay, why do you think she talks to Max the way that she talks to Max? Is it because of him trying to find Lucy when he wakes up, or like what makes her kind of let her guard not guard down, but like talk to him in that way of like maybe you could change something or whatever.
And she's already gut shot. She knows she's dying, and
Yeah,
he's there. He's the only living person
true.
there.
Yeah.
And I think she's got to try to take this chance on him and be like, "Hey, you could do it differently. You don't have to choose to go down the villain path."
I love that, especially if he does choose to go down the villain path. I would love that. That would be so good. Um, do you remember who shoots her? I don't
It
remember.
doesn't show it.
Okay, I wasn't
Like it
sure.
doesn't explicitly show
Okay.
who shoots her. But when she returns, like you don't see that she's gut shot until after she's already holding Rose's hand and she's already said what she has to say to Max. And then she takes her hand off her side and she's got that gut shot wound. And then she slumps over and she's dead and at peace with Rose,
Right.
finally.
Yeah. And then obviously the Brotherhood comes and Dane thinks that Max killed Moldaver and Max does say like no I didn't, but Dane's like, 3 cheers for Max. And it's interesting because he lets them cheer, he lets them believe it, but you can tell on his face he's not happy
Right.
necessarily. Yeah.
Which, if he doesn't go down the villain path, I need him to become part of the found family unit with Lucy and Cooper, but like, don't fucking blow holes in my ship, bro. Like,
I
that's
would I would love it if it was like well, I love the possessive vibe. So like I am fine with Max being involved just to piss off Cooper. Um and I don't know, even maybe to a degree like Cooper is pushing Lucy to Max like this is who you should be with. He is a good person. Yeah, he deserves you and I don't. And but I really want Max to be a villain. Oh gosh, I would
I
love
do too.
that.
Like, I just think Aaron Moten would play it so beautifully
He'd be
and like
scary. Are you kidding me? Like,
scary and sexy as a villain. Like, I mean, he's sexy right now, just as Maximus is right now, but like just imagine him in like full on I have embraced my villain era mode. Like that's gonna be hot.
It's gonna be like, oh, and like Dane will be like, I don't even recognize you anymore. And he'll be like, oh, yes. And it's only after Lucy chooses the ghoul over Max. Oh gosh, that would be so beautiful. I need that to happen.
Yes.
Um, and then we see Hank's silhouette in the sunset or sunrise, not sure which one. Um, and where is he going, Chelsea?
New Vegas.
So, um, and that is where we leave off. We don't know where Thaddeus is, but I'm sure he's going to show up at some
I
point.
like I feel like they're all gonna converge again though, because now that Maximus knows that Lucy's dad was behind the bombing of Shady
Oh,
Sand,
yeah.
I feel like he's going to rest until he gets his revenge because his whole driving force is I want to hurt the people who hurt me.
And I'm wondering, okay, I'm wondering if it's going to be easy for Max to set aside that Lucy's dad did that. Do you know what I mean? Like, because it feels like Max doesn't really get a chance to sort of take that in because
Yeah.
Lucy tells him,
Does that before
yeah,
he gets backhanded and knocked cold out.
right. And then when he wakes up and he's looking for Lucy and she's not there. And because the ghoul, like obviously he saw the ghoul. So he knows that the ghoul is there, but he doesn't see the ghoul's body anywhere. So I think he automatically assumes the ghoul took Lucy to get to Hank. And so he's probably like, I need to get to Hank because that's where I'm going to find Lucy. Um, because even Lucy's like, oh, I'll find you. And I'm like, oh, girl, no, you won't. Stop it right now. Just stop.
Right.
Um, and it's very much like I'm just excited to see like where everything goes. And I think everyone converges as well because it's like Max wants to get to Lucy. Lucy is with Cooper and they want to go get Hank. And it's like I would love to see this sort of New Vegas kind of, I mean, there's so much you could play with at New Vegas. And um now do you think, and maybe we can talk about this in more detail in our theories episode, but where do you think Barb and Janie are? I mean, obviously we think it's going to be a higher end vault, but
I think they're gonna be in New Vegas, like with what Cooper said about you want to go meet your makers.
mhm.
I feel like to me that indicates the higher ups in Vault Tech, which means Barb.
Well, Cooper did say something about how like, gosh, what did he say specifically? It's something about war never changes, but there's always someone pulling the string, and that's who I want to talk to.
Always someone behind the wheel, and that's who
Yeah,
I'm.
behind the wheel. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's where your daddy is going off to is to talk to them, and that's who I want to talk to. And so that's why he doesn't outright kill Hank. He wants to follow Hank. And if Hank's injured, depending on that injury, he's going to not be necessarily as fast. But you make a really good point because Hank knows exactly where he's going. Um, and I highly doubt Moldaver lets Hank keep his Pit Boy. So he must know just logistically off the top of his head where New Vegas is and how to get there.
yeah.
Or at least the
Well,
coordinates if the
there's
T60,
probably some kind of Pip Boy or something with the T armor.
yeah. Um, so I just think that yeah, that'll be very, very interesting and I think to a degree, I'm wondering if because we can't forget that Norm is now in Hank's pod.
Odd. Yep.
And he gets there because Bud has sort of locked him in. And it's almost like, Norm, you should know better based on everything you went through with the Raiders. You shouldn't necessarily have helped Bud. But I think that Norm does it for the information, not necessarily because I think part of it is maybe a little bit of compassion, but it's more of that I want to talk to this thing to figure everything
Figure
out.
out what's going on.
Yeah. Um, But yeah, I think that it'll be interesting because I feel like there might be a point where it's almost like Cooper's gonna go after his family and Lucy's gonna go after hers. Unless they go after one family first and then together they go after the other or something. I don't
I
know.
don't want to have to separate. And I like I said, I could like that theory I have that seeing Cooper's love language is when Lucy realizes Norm is in danger. I need to go get my brother. Cooper's love language is going to be I will put my quest to find my family on hold to help you go get your brother.
Yeah.
That is a big way of saying I love you without ever saying a word out loud.
Yeah. Especially if maybe they find out in New Vegas because maybe they have access to
To vault to
information. Mm-hmm.
information from
Yeah.
like one of the terminals, like the computer terminals.
Yeah. So I think that that would
I
be,
think that Hank is going to be the one to dangle that information in front of Lucy and try to twist her arm into going home with him. Like, let's go get your brother and fix this mess you've made. Blah, 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 blah. I feel like he's going to be really, like, kind of condescending and try to gaslight the shit out of her.
and I think that
I
Lucy,
think Cooper's going to hate it.
oh, but I think Lucy does it to keep Cooper alive.
Right.
I think she's like, I'll go with you, but you have to leave Cooper alive or you have to give Cooper information on where his family is. And so
Yeah.
maybe that's it, where it's like they go back to the vault and instead of Cooper going after his family, he goes after Lucy to save Lucy because
Right.
he knows that shit's gonna happen in that vault if Hank is bringing her back because Hank can't risk her spreading stuff around. So whether that's putting her in
In
a
a cryopod or what?
mhm,
Because,
yeah,
Steph's cryopod is available right now. Betty's is available. Like, there's several cryopods available in 31 that he could stick her in and put that problem on ice, literally.
literally. Um, but yeah, I think that that would be, I would love that. I would love that. And then it would be, yeah. So I guess we could talk more about that in our theories episode. But do you have anything else you want to touch on with episode 8?
No, it was just so beautiful. Like, it was so beautifully done.
I agree. And I love that it's the beginning because it really is. It's a new beginning for all of the characters involved.
Yes, it is. It's a turning point, and I love it.
Um, but yeah, I think, oh gosh, like I would love to pick these writers' minds and just like, okay, I need to know everything. Like, how did you do this? How did you do this? Because Walton, I've heard that they wrote the part for Walton, right?
Right.
And so I'm wondering if like, okay, they had these scripts and then they started shooting. And then I'm wondering like what changed based on Ella or based on the chemistry between Ella and Walton. Like, did anything change? Was this always how it was supposed to go? And they just really lucked out? Like, gosh, I want to know everything.
Right. I
Um,
have questions. And like I would love, love, love to get answers. And I can't wait to keep digging into it because this show gave us so much. Like, I know we only intended to do these 8 episodes, like breaking down each episode of the show, but literally we just can't stop.
I
Like, we have
can't.
theories, like we have character arcs to break down, like
We have like people to interview. Like everybody can't stop talking about it. I can't stop like I love this. Like this is supposed to be like all ships and it's like no, we're just going to focus on Fallout in all the different ways. So hope you're
I
here for it.
Yes, and like I mean, I'm sure we will eventually talk about other ships also, but like I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with Fallout and with Lucy and the Ghoul and I'm obsessed and I cannot stop. They gave us so much to work
I know.
with the writing, with the character arcs, with all of these little details and Easter eggs that we keep picking up on every watch through. And I'm just like, it's all there.
Well, and it doesn't help that the fandom is so like these fics that I'm reading, the art, the video edits, like this is all your guys' fault too. Like I could probably be like try to get to normal and then I'll read this really amazing fic and then I'm ruined again and I have to talk about it. And I'm just like who am I right now? Like or I'll be like sending Chelsea these like, or no, Chelsea more than likely will be sending me some fan art that I need to check out and make sure my kids aren't looking over my shoulder while I'm viewing this art.
It's beautiful.
It's Lake's fault. Let's just blame Lake for it.
No, it's my fault because he wouldn't send it to me if I wasn't like, hey, babe, I'm
That's
obsessed with this right now. Send me these.
that's so funny. But just fandom, like just keep doing it. You guys are keeping you're keeping everything alive right now while we wait. And so we're trying to do our job and just talk to you guys, talk about it, just keep the momentum alive until we start seeing some behind the scenes stuff. So,
Yes, yes. We're eventually gonna have to do a live, eventually, but
yeah,
one day we'll see.
maybe we'll do like watch like we watch the episode and then we like do a live right after.
We should do a live during the Emmys.
Oh my gosh, that would be so much fun. Our reactions though, if we keep that, I would should we dress up too? That would be fun. Like we're
Right?
going to
Oh
the
my God,
Emmys.
get fancy. Yes. I sign me up. I'll do it in a
Let's
heartbeat.
do it.
Yes.
We should invite our people to join. This
Yes.
should be our thing. Yeah, let's do it. We'll set
Yes.
this up.
I'll let like know the night of the Emmys. I'm
Yeah,
about to
say
feel weird and it's gonna be on live. So
don't interrupt me.
yeah.
I anyway. Okay, so we will be back next week with a theories episode. Chelsea, what should they comment?
Oh. Let me see. What was your favorite performance of the season? Like your favorite moment of the season and why?
Okay, Chelsea, answer the question. What was your favorite moment of the season and why?
You coming.
That's a good one.
Like because it's a culmination of like every interaction they've had up to this point and because of how Walton played it softer and like, you know, here's your chance to get answers and like an opportunity that I wasn't offered, but I'm going to offer it to you.
I love that. That's so beautiful. Mine is still there you are, you little killer. I love
That
that.
was so good. That
I love
was
that.
good. That's my second favorite
Yeah.
moment.
I
Well,
like the you coming as my
yeah,
second
loved it.
favorite. Yeah. Ugh. But what were your guys's? Leave that in the comments and we will be back next week to talk theories. Anything else you want to add, Chelsea?
Nope, I think I'm good.
All
I'm about to be
right.
on the road for a very, very long time. So
Well, take care, everyone. We'll see you next week. Bye.
bye.